show. I am so excited to be starting, as usual, in the kitchen today, because it is almost the long weekend. I'm very excited about that. Who doesn't love a good May long weekend, am I right? Always a good thing. Now, it's also still our gardening week. So every day this week, we've been covering some gardening things, and I wanted to showcase some delicious kind of spring produce in every single dish I make. So today, I'm gonna use both of those kind of vibes, the long weekend and gardening week, as inspiration for a baked good. So we are gonna make a Victoria sponge cake. If you've ever watched a British cooking show, watch the Great British Baking Show, you've seen a Victoria sponge cake. Essentially, it is a pound cake that's layered. It's filled with cream and strawberry jam or raspberry jam, and it is delicious. Now, it is named after Queen Victoria, because apparently that lady loved a piece of cake with her afternoon tea. And if that's what being a queen means, well, sign me up. Cake every day. What a delight. But it's a super simple cake to put together. It's really, really great. So we're gonna get started on the actual cake. So the first thing I have in this bowl is I've got 2 1/4 cups of all-purpose flour. I've seasoned that up with about 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then I've also added in 1 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, sometimes people who don't bake are like, why do you do both? Aren't they kind of the same? But baking powder actually kind of rises twice. When it hits a little bit of acidity, it gives a little bit of a puff, but then it also hits the heat of the oven and you get a secondary kind of like puffiness, which gives you more kind of lightness. The baking soda, that just is like a volcano. Soon as it hits something acidic, it gets nice and bubbly, which gives you that start. So we're gonna get started though. We've got all our dry ingredients whisked or sifted together, and I'm gonna get to work on the butter. So for this cake, we use a creaming method. So I've got a cup of butter in this mixer. You could do this by hand if you really wanna work out, or you could use a hand mixer, that would work too. And into there, I'm gonna add 1 1/4 cups of sugar. I'm going in with plain white sugar. You could also do brown sugar if you wanted to. It would make the cake a little bit heavier, but it would give it a little bit of a molasses flavor, which I do love. But we're going classic today in honor of the long weekend. So 1 1/4 cups of white sugar goes in. And then I wanna cream this. Now, one time I got an email from a lady being like, you're calling for cream in the method, but there's no cream in the recipe. It's not actually cream. Creaming is actually a verb. It's an action word? That's a verb. Yeah, there you go. I got it. Not an adjective. That's a descriptor. Creaming is actually a verb in this case, not a noun. So we aren't actually adding cream into this cake, but we are creaming the butter and sugar together. What that means is we're beating that butter with that sugar until that sugar almost dissolves. You want it to get really light and fluffy. If I were doing this at home, I would pop this onto about high-ish speed and let this go for about 2 minutes. You want it to look fluffy, and you want it to feel a little bit softer, not super grainy. For the sake of time though, I'm gonna call that creamed. Honestly, if you don't cream it all the way, I'm not gonna be mad at you. It'll still be cake and it'll still be delicious. But this ensures that your cake is nice and light. So into there, I'm gonna start adding in my eggs. So for this cake, I need 2 whole eggs that I'm gonna add in, and I wanna add them in 1 at a time, mixing them after each addition. Now this feels like it's something that I'm just making you do to be difficult, but I'm not. Because essentially what is happening in this bowl right now by mixing it slowly is it's emulsifying. Everybody's, I feel like, made a salad dressing before, and you know how as you're adding in the oil, you're supposed to slowly add it in while whisking? That's because you're mixing together a liquid and a fat. And liquids and fat, worst enemies. It's like kids at a high school preteen dance and the boys are on one side and the girls on the other side. They don't want to hang out. So you need like somebody cool to come in and be like, let's hang out. So this agitation makes it all work together. Now that's all nice and incorporated. I'm gonna add in another egg. And then in addition to those 2 whole eggs, I'm also gonna add in some egg whites. That's gonna give this a nice light color of the cake. It's gonna be perfect. So I need 2 egg whites into there. These eggs are really giving me the gears today, let me tell you. Nicely done, Berg. Okay, cool. Feeling good. The egg whites give you a little bit more lightness, and it gives it a really nice kind of fluffy texture, and it also keeps this cake from going too yellow. I do love a yellow cake, but those egg whites give you that texture and stuff without that color. So I'm gonna add those babies in. Perfect. Give that a good mix up. And now I'm gonna scrape down the machine. Anytime you're making cake or cookies or anything like that, you wanna give this a scrape, because all this has not kind of mixed in with that liquid yet. But this is essentially the start of any, in my opinion, good cake. This is almost a little bit of a play on a pound cake. So give that a beat, and now we're gonna flavor this. So into there, I'm gonna add in about 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, because a classic Victoria sponge is vanilla. If you wanna go fancy, you could use vanilla bean, but honestly, vanilla extract is good to go. And then this is an addition that I like to add. I like adding in just the tiniest little bit of almond extract. Almond extract gives you this like, not almondy flavor, but it makes it taste like fancy vanilla. Like you bought the nicest vanilla you could find. So just like a tiny touch. You don't have to do this, but if you want to, I guarantee you will not regret it. All right, that's perfect. Now we're gonna start bringing everything together. So I've got my fat mixture here with that sugar, and then I'm gonna add in my dry, but I also want a little bit more liquid. So I have got buttermilk here, and buttermilk is nice and acidic, and that's gonna react with that baking powder and that baking soda. I need a cup of that. And then into here, I'm gonna start adding this in additions. So I'm gonna add about 1/3 of this dry mixture into this. And then I'm gonna give that a little bit of a mix. The reason I'm doing this in like portions or like little additions is I don't wanna overwork the gluten, and I also want this buttermilk to incorporate evenly. So that's already mixed in, add in half that buttermilk. Let that do its thing. Then we're gonna add in another 1/3 of that flour. Again, this feels like I'm doing make work, like I'm telling you to do stuff that you don't actually have to do, but it's gonna give you a more tender cake, which is absolutely perfect. Pop that down, give that a mix. This is my happy place right now, I'm not gonna lie. Making cake, it smells like vanilla. It's a very good thing. Add in that rest of that buttermilk. And then finally, that final addition of that flour. Now I fully pretty much, again, I told you you could cream that butter and sugar for longer, but this is gonna make a delicious cake as is. And I made that in all of like, what, 5 minutes? So pretty breezy. Yeah, you could also use a cake mix if you wanted to, but honestly, sometimes that takes longer. You have to beat it for longer. All right, that is looking absolutely perfect to me. Now I'm gonna divide this batter into 2 9-inch cake pans. So I've got them greased already over here. So those babies are coming over. And I'm gonna pop that in. Now, when I'm greasing a pan, a lot of times people tell you gotta butter and flour it or things like that. I love nonstick cooking spray. It's the only way to go for me. It makes an even kind of mix. It's super perfect, and it gets really nice release from that batter. So just divide that on into those cake pans. You can be even if you want to. I'm clearly not, so you know, you do you. If you want, you could use like a nice scoop or something. Spread that out. There we go. Oh, I'm really not even. Guess what, guys? We got to swap, which is very good. So I'm gonna pretend I'm gonna put these in the oven, but I'm gonna pop these right back here. Those go into a 350 oven for about 25 minutes, just until they're golden brown. And while those do their thing, really quickly, I'm gonna show you how to make a freezer jam. So I've got 2 cups of sliced strawberries here. I'm gonna add those on into a pot. This pot's already over medium heat, so already they're gonna start releasing their juice. Now into there, I'm gonna add in half a cup of sugar. Freezer jam is different from regular jam. There's less sugar in there, but you do need a good amount because that is gonna bring out the pectin. Grab a potato masher, mash it up. That's gonna get really liquidy. You wanna bring that to a boil over medium, then turn that heat down to medium low, let it go for about 20 to 25 minutes until jammy, and you've got the most delicious jam ever. It is a classic. Queen Victoria apparently liked it, and I'm always down for a tea cake. So before the break, I've got those cakes. We cooked them up in the oven for about 25 minutes. I definitely, for sure, made those cakes for real, and it definitely measured them well, and it's all good. They're cooling on the back counter right now because you want to work with a nice cool cake, because we're going to fill this with some cream. Now, in addition to those cakes before the break, I also made this jam. After you cook that jam down and it gets nice and jammy, set it aside to cool to room temperature, and then you can store that in your fridge or your freezer. If you store it in the fridge, only lasts for about 2 weeks. Freezer, it'll last for up to 3 months. So it's super tasty. I also added at the very end just a little splash of an extract, vanilla, almond, whatever you'd like, but you want to add that off the heat so it doesn't cook off. So I'm going to get to work on the cream. Now, as opposed to filling this cake with a buttercream, kind of like more traditional birthday cake style, this is actually just filled with whipped cream. So I'm going to add 2 cups of whipping cream into here. Whipping cream is anything above 35%. There's this one brand of dairy that I really like that does a 45% cream. That's when I'm treating myself. That's an exciting time. All right. Now I'm also gonna sweeten this, but I don't want it overly sweet. So I'm just adding in 2-ish tablespoons of icing sugar. That's gonna be just enough to give it a little bit of sweetness, but not overdo it. Then into there, you can add in a little bit of extract as well. Again, vanilla, almond, whatever you'd like. And I like to whip my cream on medium speed. If you whip it on medium, it actually forms smaller, more stable bubbles, so it doesn't weep, it doesn't fall. So whip it on medium just until those peaks hold. I'm gonna go grab those cakes while that does its thing. They are golden brown, they are nice little cakes, because this is a beautiful sandwich cake. So I'm gonna pop those down. We have got some of that cream already done over here. Again, I just flavored that with a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of almond, and it's gonna be a dream. So now to assemble this cake, all you need is to put that one of them on the bottom. And since this is a tea cake, it's not decorated on the outside or the top. It's just filled. So onto there, I'm gonna add my delicious whipped cream. And it gets a little squishy, which is always a delight. So pop that whipped cream right on top. Pile it as high as you want. Smear it out. Don't smear it all the way to the edge, because that top layer is gonna kind of get it too. And then also follow my advice, not what I'm doing, but don't touch it too much. I love swirling ice cream, or what is it called? Whipped cream a lot. Now I'm gonna add in that beautiful strawberry jam that I made. You still taste those fresh spring strawberries. It doesn't overcook them. It's gonna be a total dream. So you just kind of lay that over top so every bite gets a good amount of that beautiful cream. Swirl that around, and then top it with another one of those cakes, just like that. Now on top, obviously, if you've got any imperfections, the baker's secret, a little bit of icing sugar is all you need. Dust that over, and you have got the most beautiful way to celebrate Victoria Day this weekend. I am so excited to eat this, baby. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.